In the 1950s, village officials justified their decision to allow multiple high-density buildings to be placed on the waterfront with the claim that the additional tax revenue would ensure Nyack would never ever have financial problems. In the late 1980s, the exact same claim was used to justify placing this monstrosity on the waterfront. In recent years, we've been hearing the constant drumbeat of housing crisis from the real estate industry, and the result has been the urbanization of the entry corridors on both Upper Main Street and Cedar Hill. And now they want to have another high-density, ugly building. This one on South Broadway, on the one street in the village where through years of fires, misguided urban renewal, and real estate hustler greed has managed to maintain its historical appearance. Well, the project was submitted to the Architectural Review Board for approval, and according to the Rockland County Business Journal, the interaction was contentious. The board members said it was out of character and needed to be modified, and the architect did not appreciate it. He said they weren't tasked with deciding that sort of thing. He's claiming that the architectural board should not be reviewing architecture? He also gave them a lecture that in New York City, essentially character doesn't matter. You get to do what you want. Well, despite the pomposity, they asked him to modify the project in return, and maybe they had some reason to hope. If you go to the architect's Facebook page, you see he's posted a number of pictures of projects which he's justifiably proud. Projects where the buildings were modified to remain in character with their surroundings, even when it wasn't especially attractive. Now, before we go any further, let's get one thing straight here. This is claimed to be a 4-story building. And when you look at the renditions, you see these little ridges along the roof line. But when you look at the actual plans, there are structures that house stairwells and an elevator, and they're a full story higher. On his roof plan, he shows a terrace where people are going to hang out. And if they're going to hang out in the summertime, they're going to need some kind of shading, maybe a pergola or some sort of awning, but this is going to have the effect of a 5-story building. Okay, well, his modified proposal, surprisingly, was to remove one parking place. More alarmingly, the renditions show the building at a different scale, as if it were smaller. In this view, it looks to be the same height as the 3-story building to the north. And this view, the 5-story building is actually lower than the 3-story building, and the 3rd floor of the new project is at exactly the level of the 2nd floor of the original. And the back of it from Cedar Hill, well, this looks like the jail somebody forgot to put the bars on the window on. Now, you may be wondering, as I was, how in a zone that prohibits anything higher than 3 stories we get a 5-story building. Well, Nyack has a bizarre provision that if you do stuff like have a green roof and put in 2 affordable units, you get to violate the building law. But the green roof we're talking about here is not like in Scandinavia where it's actually grass and sod. This is a bunch of greens placed in plastic boxes on plastic frames with plastic foam. this sort of thing is probably not even carbon neutral, let alone a benefit. And as for affordable units, who are they affordable for? Remember during the pandemic when people were dropping dead right and left, and the cashiers at the supermarket still showed up so that your ass didn't starve? Well, these apartments aren't affordable for them. They'd need a 30% increase in their salary to even apply. These apartments are for people who are already doing well, but haven't quite reached the plateau of the upper middle class. Now, the streets of this area were laid out in 1860 by William Barrs. And if you look at a close-up of the map, you'll see that they're basically the same. They even have the same names. The infrastructure was designed at a time when the population was 2,000 and people got around in horse and carriage. It's now 10,000. And the average household has 2 or 3 cars. The result is the traffic flow at rush hour is a nightmare, and the parking is just ridiculous. Because of that parking, we have empty storefronts all over the place, and because of the people, the sewer system's overloaded. Because of the cars, the roads look like the third world. Now, Nyack needs to put a moratorium on new building and rewrite their zoning code. This is a time for action, not committees and surveys, because if they don't stop this rampant urbanization, there's going to be nothing left of what made this place great other than a hazy memory.